In the underworld, authority is a zero-sum game. You take power, or it is taken from you. It is a realm ruled by the High King through absolute, crushing force. For the High King's daughter, Vespera, eternity under those rules had become agonizingly dull. She possessed immense power, yet she had never once encountered a single moment of pure, untamed joy. Seeking a distraction, she slipped through a brimstone tear in the earth, leaving the underworld behind for the sunlit woods bordering the village of Oakhaven. Hiding her obsidian horns beneath a velvet hood, she perched in an ancient oak tree and watched a mortal. He was a young farm boy in a patched linen tunic, humming to himself while carefully wrapping a tiny bandage around a fledgling robin's wing. He spoke softly to the bird, praising its bravery. In Vespera's realm, every interaction was a transaction of power. Here was a soul doing the opposite, giving gentleness away, for free. That unprompted act of kindness created an irresistible pull. Drawn to a concept of joy she barely understood, Vespera stepped out into the clearing, burying her fiery eyes and true nature so she could approach him. When they finally met face to face, the visual divide between them was striking. Vespera's pale skin practically glowed, framed by a midnight blue velvet cloak, while Jack stood there with dirt pressed deep under his fingernails. Looking at the fine embroidery of her clothes, Jack reached a simple conclusion. He assumed she was a noble lady from a grand castle, someone whose wardrobe was worth more than his family's entire wheat harvest. He fell for her right then, but a penniless farmer has no business courting nobility, so he bowed clumsily, his cheeks flushing crimson, and kept his feelings deep inside. Vespera was engaging in a similar suppression. She was terrified that if she revealed her infernal origins, the warmth and light she had found in this clearing would vanish. A silent barrier separated them, built on their own internal logic. Jack's perceived poverty stops his confession. Vespera's hidden identity leads to the exact same result. Because their true selves remained hidden, their relationship relied entirely on maintaining a fiction of who they were. Their shared sense of inadequacy created a paradox. The belief that they were unworthy of each other was the very thing drawing them closer, while simultaneously ensuring they would never speak honestly. Over the next few weeks, Vespera returned to the woods every single afternoon, establishing a quiet, predictable routine. Without the safety of spoken words, their interactions became physical and collaborative. They spent hours working side by side, building wooden birdhouses and bottle-feeding orphan fawns. Keeping those facades intact required constant vigilance. At one point, Vespera relied on her hidden infernal strength, casually splitting a thick timber beam in half before passing it off as a trick of the light. Jack developed his own quiet, silent vocabulary. Unable to speak his mind, he began leaving small gifts on a mossy log for her to find. First, handfuls of sweet wild strawberries evolved into woven wildflower rings and tiny hand-carved wooden animals. In the absence of a spoken confession, these shared labors and quiet tokens created a tangible vocabulary. They built a language of affection that bypassed the social gaps they thought kept them apart. The relationship remained in this state of quiet tension. No matter how many afternoons they spent together, neither one found the words to change it. Jack was still anchored by his reality. To him, his poverty meant his true feelings had to stay locked away. But for Vespera, holding a tiny hand-carved wooden rabbit close to her chest, the lack of words didn't matter. Her understanding of value had shifted. Her perspective had entirely shifted. On one side sat the dark crowns of the underworld. On the other, a wooden shape given freely outweighed them all. These simple offerings reframed her worth, giving her a sense of belonging her father's empire never could. Connection does not always require grand gestures or perfect words. Often, it is built through the quiet, unassuming decision to prioritize someone else's gentleness over the pursuit of power.